So, cross country, training and racing for place, not for time. Why is that? Couple things, okay? Um, there's no such thing as a time qualifier in cross country. There's none. They don't exist. One of the great things about track, and it's considered a luxury, um, is that you can parlay all the fitness that you built over the summer in cross country and get an early season qualifier. You can come right out the gate, guns blazing, right on the track. And a lot of folks do this. If you see, especially cross country, your cross country national champs, particularly in NCAA, a lot of folks will come in and get their 3K and their 5K automatic qualifying times done. And then they'll disappear for like 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, they'll rest, they'll regroup, and start to train and get ready for the longest season. Right? That's one of the benefits of doing this in track that we don't have in cross country, which is why so many things have to be factored in with cross country. Okay. And this is one thing I talk about this often. Okay. And again, if you're a coach or an athlete, and you want to continue learning, you want to have a dialogue, you want to learn from each other, this is your first time here, welcome. If you enjoy the content enough to come back, please hit that like button and please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Okay. I go live every weekend and I'd love to have a discussion with all of you about this. Okay. But this is an important topic for me, and it's something I've learned over the last 2 decades as a coach, high school and college and post-collegiate. Okay, racing less frequently in cross country puts you in a better position to run your best when it counts the most later on in the season. It doesn't matter what you do in September at all, nothing. Okay, there's no qualifying times for anything, nothing. Okay. And I understand too, there are some situations where, like this coming weekend's Manhattan College Cross Country Invitational, one of the biggest high school races in the country. Next weekend's NCAA Cross Country Pre-Nats, right? You could run a blazing fast time and be, I don't know, 15th in the race, whatever it might be. You could also run a blazing fast time on the track and be dead last and still get an automatic qualifier for nationals. And you're still in no matter what. Okay, so there's differences between cross country and track. And I point this out because, and I understand the logic of if you don't race a lot, then you can sometimes overemphasize key races, or you might not have enough things to work with or indicators to see how ready your athletes are and so on. That's why I also do time trials within the training and simulations within the training. But racing less frequently, and I don't mean once every month or something like that. The perfect to me is every other week. In some cases, every 3 weeks. That still gives you enough races in cross country to run your best. Okay, if it's a 12-week season, you race every other week. That's 6 races. Okay, this gives you an opportunity to put forth bigger bouts of training. It gives you more opportunity to adapt to more substantial blocks of training. Right. Whereas if you're racing once a week, and even more than that, when are you ever going to get a chance to adapt to anything? Right? When can you fit in workouts that are going to help you adapt? That's the question I always ask coaches. And again, I'm not here to compete with other coaches. Okay. This is not an ego contest. Okay. This is not about me. This is about you, the athlete. Okay. And the runners. And I want to do what I can to put my athletes in a position to run their best when it counts the most. In cross country, it has to be at the end of the season. There is no other option. So you have to place in a certain place, right, at a certain number in order to qualify for states or nationals and so on and so forth. So what you do leading up to that point is going to put you in a position to be ready to test yourself when you need to test it the most. Okay. And November, at the end of cross country, sometimes it's late October, whatever it might be, you need to be at your sharpest, you need to be at your best. Right. And what do you need to do leading up to that point? So the plan of attack in cross country has got to be a little bit different than in this track. Different. The great thing about track too is I can have my 2 miles and say, you know what? I want to have them run a 4x8 next weekend, just for a little bit of speed work, right? Because they're going to race the mile the week or 2 after that. I want them to get a little bit of turnover in their legs, and that mile is going to help them their 2 mile, and so on. You have the ability to move up and down distance in track. You don't have that ability in cross country. The race is the same distance, or it's longer. Okay. The only time it gets shorter is at this weekend, Manhattan College Cross Country Invite. It goes from 5K to 4K. Right? But it's still longer than any race that you run in track, with the exception of nationals, right? Or the qualifier for nationals and whatnot. So that being said, I'm bringing this up because it's something that I don't know a lot of coaches and athletes think about. I really don't. I can't speak for other coaches and athletes, but I also understand that in certain situations, certain states and counties, the expectation is that you race more than once per week. You have to score a certain amount of dual league meet points and so on and so forth. And I asked those coaches, do you have enough depth on your team to run certain kids on the week and midweek and run certain kids on the weekend? That way you're not over racing kids, right? And do they even think about that? To me, if I have kids who I know can qualify for states and nationals, I'm going to put them in a position to do that. And if I over race them and they run their base races a month too soon, that's not going to help them, right? Which is why, again, I go back and I emphasize the racing frequency in college and high school cross country. They both matter. It takes longer to recover from races in college because they're longer. So I'll race a little bit less frequently. I might race 4 to 5 times in college or cross country, maybe 5 max. Okay. Whereas I might run 6 or 7 in high school, and that's it. Anything above that, 10, 12, 14, 15 times, that's, you're sometimes playing with fire there. And I'm not in favor of that. And again, but like I said, I had to clash with coaches on this particular subject. And say coaches say, "Oh, they don't. Well, we got to race them. We're gonna race this. We're just gonna run it as a workout." What is the point of doing that? Of going to a race and tempoing if you're not even tempoing at the right pace, right? Tempos are a locked-in, prescribed pace to help advance your fitness. And why would you waste your money to go to a meet to treat it as a workout? For what is the question I like to ask folks, right? Would we be better off keeping them at school and practicing, getting in a really good workout to help them in the next big invitational, right? Or a series of big workouts? Or can I run my freshman on a Tuesday or Wednesday, my varsity on the weekend, right? There are things that you can do. And I don't know where it's required to run every single kid more than once per week. I don't know where that exists. And if it is, then that's there. Okay. So I had to unfortunately come to, clashes with coaches regarding this situation. I made it clear that I'm coaching these kids. You're giving me the opportunity to coach them. I want them to be there at their best when they count the most. I'd rather put them in a position to get a scholarship in college, or we can win Penn relays in the DMR or Milrose games in the 4x8 or something like that. I want to be able to do that. If we can qualify for NXN cross country, I want to do that, right? So, and what we do leading up to that point is a really, really important factor. And track has to be treated a little bit differently than cross country. Track, like I said, the seasons are longer. You have the opportunity to go and just show up and run a 4x8 later on in the day and go home. You don't have to run the mile, the 2 mile, and all these races multiple times in the track meet. And why am I going to go there to have them jog a 2 mile? I personally am not doing that. I want to maximize my races. I'm not going to send my kids, my athletes, to a meet if they're going to jog one of the races. Never am I going to do that. But that's just me. That's just me. So give me your take on this. And again, cross country, it's all about place. It's not about time. If you have, let's just say generally your 1, 2, 3 athletes generally stay there, right? But everybody else, your 4, 5, and 6, 7, let's just say my number 7, I want to try to go and be the 5th athlete this year. Top 5th woman, 5th man, whatever it might be. That's something they can shoot for. And again, if you have a race that has wind, mud, all hills, and all kinds of stuff, sometimes your 7 will run better than the 5. And they're in a position to keep their eyes on their teammates and say, okay, he's right there, she's right there. Where can I inch closer to him in this stretch? Can I catch him in the hills? Can I catch him in the flats? Whatever. You can strategically pan things out a little bit more, a little bit differently in cross country, right? And you could design workouts to help them achieve that. This is why I'm a proponent of breaking them up into training groups. That way, if everybody's doing the same exact workout, people are not resting all different periods of time. If you set them up into training groups according to their fitness, everybody gets the same rest after each rep instead of it being all over the place. That way, everybody gets to maximize the workout, right? Again, this is just me. I'm just speaking from my experience. You let me know what your thoughts are. I can't speak for other athletes and coaches. I'm speaking from personal experience of what I found to be extremely helpful and most helpful. And the frequency of racing is directly attributed to the ability to place high in races. Okay, there are some exceptions where kids race a lot and they still place very high. Okay, but more often than not, I think that's the exception. and everything else, right? And I see a lot of kids who race a lot and get hurt. And I'm here to keep my athletes healthy and run fast, right? So cross country, please. We're in cross country season right now. I encourage folks to treat it accordingly. Okay. How can your athletes continue to move forward towards the front of the pack when you know races get faster? If you know they get faster as the weather gets colder and they're running the course multiple times, what do you need to do to get them to go from 25th to 15th, from 15th to 10th, and so on the same course, running against the same competition, right? Racing can tell you a certain amount of things, but training gives you the opportunity to write stuff down and say, okay, this is when we ran our best races. And you can use what you did in training to dictate how you're performing in races, right? And say, okay, we did our best block of training here. This is when we ran our best races. Okay, this is when we're kind of falling apart. This is what we did in training. You can tangibly go back and look and see what you did and what you didn't do and what might be different and how to tweak things and how to enhance your training, right? And this is where putting the piece of the puzzle comes into play. Okay, they're both important, cross country and track, but the plan of attack's got to be slightly different in cross than it is track. And I encourage coaches to consider this. If they are, kudos to you. If not, please consider it. Make it about your athletes. I'm not here to compete with other coaches. Okay, I'm not here to. This is not an ego contest. I leave my ego at the door. Okay, it's about the athletes. It's not about us. Okay, so hope you found this helpful. I hope you did. Okay, and again, keep in mind, just a simple message: race a little bit less in cross country. Okay, because that's going to be one of the things that puts you in a position to place higher in the key races later on in the season, and build your training out accordingly to facilitate that, right? And you race a little bit less, you can have bigger blocks of training, and you can have better adaptation and more substantial performances. Track, you have more luxury to kind of mix and match things, and I encourage folks to do that. Other folks can carry you in a relay if you have an off day, so which is another good thing too. We'll get to track when that comes as well. Okay, have a great rest of the season. I'll talk to you next time.